welcome to the program.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Now, it's a pleasure having you. I know that for a while there's been some arrangements going on to finally have you on the show discussing the Sunni Razvi Society, and we'll go into that shortly. Hazrat, the Sunni Razvi Society, when we look at the organization itself, one has to look into the personalities behind an organization first to understand that organization and understand what that organization stands for. There are very key spiritual luminaries that had these visions, and that's where the Sunni Razvi Society has been born from. Tell us a bit about that and the history.
نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم وعما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال الله تبارك وتعالى في شان حبيبه ورسوله إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا وشفيعنا وحبيبنا ومولانا محمد معدن الجود والكرم وآله وبارك وسلم. MashaAllah, it's a pleasure to be here. Allah Ta'ala bless you and your organization. Alhamdulillah, definitely after every organization, behind every organization, there's always a personality. Sunni Razvi Society, Alhamdulillah, was created by Hazrat Allama Maulana Muhammad Ibrahim Khushtar Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi, who was born in India, and he became a Hafiz age of 9. Age of 13 he became an Alim-e-Din in India, Bareilly Sharif. His Ustad Muhtaram was Huzur Mufti Azam Alam Islam Maulana Mustafa Raza Khan Faizal Bareilly Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi. And from there on, 1949, he left India, he went to Pakistan, and Alhamdulillah, he was in a place called Lailpur, modern name today is Faisalabad, and he was a student of Maulana Sardar Ahmad. Alhamdulillah, from very beginning, he come from a very Sufi gharana, and our aqaid, Alhamdulillah, based on Sufi humbleness, respect, peace and tranquility. In 1953, he went to Mecca for his first Hajj. He returned back, Alhamdulillah. Then the thought of Sunni Razvi Society came. His Ustad gave that name, Maulana Mustafa Raza Khan Faizal Bareilly. Beta, you call your organization Sunni Razvi Society. Of course, we are Sunni. Sunni mean that a person who dedicate himself for the love of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. And Razavi is a name which belongs to Imam Ahl Sunnat, Imam Muhammad Raza Khan Faizal Bareilly rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi. Of course, all the Faizan, all the Barakah, in a Sufi way I would say, come from him, Alhamdulillah. In 1963, my father, Alhamdulillah, he traveled to Sri Lanka, and the movement of Sunni Razvi Society started there. He worked there for 2 years.
So was that the actual formalization of a formal organization?
Of course, Alhamdulillah, definitely. When he went there, he was in Colombo, and at the time people got together and they wanted the Sunni Razvi Society movement to be established there. So for the first time in 1963, the Sunni Razvi Society was established there. In 1965, he returned back to Karachi and Lahore. He was very busy in his work, and he was selected to go to Mauritius. He went to Mauritius in 1965 to be Imam of Jama Masjid and head of the Islamic affairs of Mauritius. When he went there, Alhamdulillah, the kind of love, respect he had for the community there, Alhamdulillah, he started the Sunni Razvi movement in 1967 in Mauritius, Alhamdulillah. 68, he came to Cape Town, South Africa. And when he came to South Africa, as soon he arrived, the very first thing, I'm sure there are plenty of people are still around, even though they have age, but their wisdom, Alhamdulillah, they are very wise people here. When he came to Cape Town, as soon he landed, he told his host that take me to the living people. They didn't understand what he said. He says, I want to see the mazarat. I want to go to this.
There are many in Cape Town.
Yeah, so alhamdulillah, he went to mazarat. He paid his respect as a proper Sufi and the proper way of in the line of Sahaba Kalam and Sheikh Sayyid Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi. So he spent, alhamdulillah, great time, spent a lot of time there, and he started the movement of Sunni Razvi Society 68 in South Africa, Cape Town. And from there on, alhamdulillah, he came to Durban. Here in Durban, alhamdulillah, same thing, same love, same muhabbat he started, and he carried on the same way. And his message was, in very brief, I would say, today, when we look at the world today, the way we are, wallahi, we are failing the entire system in a religious manner, a spiritual manner, I'm saying.
Do you believe that you say he landed in Cape Town and then went to Durban, and he was bringing now this message of the Sunni Razvi Society? Do you believe that he found that throughout society there were things that were lacking, and maybe there was a degradation in certain aspects, maybe moral decline, maybe a lower focus on spirituality, and therefore he decided to push this organization to do what it does?
Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah, you made the point there. MashaAllah, it is very good what you have asked me. See, Islam is a complete way of life. Islam itself is a way of life which prepare you for this dunya to be a better human being and prepare you for akhirah, hereafter. But our Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have granted us so much beautiful beauty around this planet, and we need, alhamdulillah, to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how do you thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I always say that it always starts from respect. And I always say that I have learned it from my mashayikh, my father, alhamdulillah, and his ustad. A person who doesn't respect himself, he will never respect anybody. So learn to respect yourself, humbleness, and alhamdulillah, this will lead you to the proper way of life according to Islam. Here we are not here to judge anybody. I've seen many people, they're wearing proper dressing according to Islam. But when I talk to them, then again, I'm not a judge. I see it doesn't match. The heart must be clean.
Correct. Yes. If you don't mind, I'll always just come in and just ask you one or two questions. It's very interesting that you're saying that, because do you then believe that that your respected father perhaps saw that we are heading into a stage where things are being externalized, and yes, there are people that very well deserve to be dressed in a very nice, appropriate way that you are, but the world is going by with people that have taken spirituality to be an external covering, and the internalization of that is not there, always dwindling.
Yes, definitely, but alhamdulillah, there will always be mashayikh, there will be always nice people around,
Yes.
Which understand this probably. See, as I said before, human body is based on two things, right? Your physical requirement and your spirituality. And if you don't do the balance with them, definitely you will face a disaster. And you don't overdo things either. So you need to have that balance. And this is what Hazrat Allama Khushtar rahmatullahi ta'ala was trained for that. And he called his organization Sunni Razvi Society. And basically, he came to this part of the world to change people's heart, to rethink. Thinking is a very important thing, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you brain, and if you don't use that brain, this is what you'll end up. You will end up the way we are today.
Correct.
And we need to think, we need to work, and we need to respect ourselves, respect our neighbors, whomsoever, whether they are Christian, Jews, Muslim, any faith, race. We are human first. Remember that, as a human, and especially as an ummati of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, it is a greater duty on us to reflect the true spirit of Islam. And true spirit of Islam is not to judge anybody, not to hurt anybody, and especially do not hurt anybody, do not touch somebody's heart and make them feel bad among themselves. This is not Islam, this is not the Sufi way.
Correct, yes. Now, I want to start unpacking the aspects of the Sunni Razvi society, but before I do that, I do want to know a little bit more about your father as a personality, as a person. How was he on a day-to-day basis? I know that my father was a murid of his, which is an interesting dynamic, and he used to visit Cape Town quite a bit. And I remember being in his presence a long time ago. I think I was very small. I remember him sitting on the bed, and he was consulting my father or mother. But I've got a very vague memory of that. But I always remember that was Maulana Khuster that we spoke about, and that was him from, and I think he came in from Mauritius at the time.
Yeah, mashallah.
It's very important for us to understand him as a personality. What was his ways like? What was his temperament, his tones, some of his philosophies?
Alhamdulillah, I known my father, mashallah. I'm the oldest in the house. I think if I say that, if anybody could claim that, do you know Maulana Khushtar? Wallahi, I would say yes, I would know Maulana. I know Maulana Khushtar. But do I really know Maulana Khushtar? Wallahi, I don't know him. Because Allah Ta'ala have given him so much spirituality, and he was a person, alhamdulillah, full of wisdom. In the house, alhamdulillah, the way he trained us and the way he was. Remember that Islam starts in the house, in your own home. And if you can't make matters good in your own house, basically you have missed the boat completely. So alhamdulillah, he was a very humble person. He was to the point, and he used to smile, but very firm with us, never deprive us for anything. And he
Did he always have a smile on his face?
Always.
It's very interesting. I just want to touch on that part a little bit. I've been talking about the smile a lot, because I believe that as Muslims we need to smile all the time. And I even go as far as saying, okay, when there's a funeral, it's fine, we understand. But whatever situation you're in, smile about it and solve the problem. That's just my approach to things. But I'm finding today that Muslims and people that feel they're in the spiritual realms, they need to have this very serious face. And I'm finding that to be a bit odd, because I believe that we should be smiling.
Smiling is the greatest sadaqah. It's the greatest gift. If you could smile, wallahi, you're a lucky person. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given you alhamdulillah, happiness. A person which will smile is a happy person. He's a person full of contentment. And unfortunately, this is the dunya. We are after dunya. And wallahi, the day you hit the grave itself, in so-called, your nafs, once nafs start overtaking you, you have already basically destroyed yourself. Yes, smile is very important. He used to smile a lot. He used to love being in this dunya. He used to preach all the time, and he never judged anybody. He used to have all sorts of people come to him. I could give you many times. I'll give you an example, very important example, and I think we'll learn from this. One day, a great Alimuddin came to my father, and I was very young at the time. And he was not feeling so well. I could see he had a very serious face. And he came to my father. He says, Maulana, I need to talk to you. He came. My father was writing. He was a, mashallah, a good poet, my father. And mashallah, he wrote a lot of alhamdulillah, Na'at, Manqabat, Hamd. And there's a lot of books available from him as well. Anyway, he was doing something. So this person came, and great alim. When he came, he says, Maulana, I need to talk to you. There's something on my chest. And he started crying. I looked at him. I was reading Quran in the corner. My father was training me and disciplining me. So he used to make me sit down in one corner. And I used to hear what's going on all day, because people used to come to see him every day. And why I'm saying that, you'll see his personality, what kind of person he was. So when that person came, And he said something to Hazrat. He says, Hazrat, I have committed a great guna. And he mentioned that guna. At the time, my father just put the pen down, and for the first time I saw him in so much anger. A person who smiled all his life, anger.
So you knew something serious.
Yeah,
is wrong.
he's so much anger suddenly. And he says, my father says, how dare? You're telling me your sin? Who am I to listen to your sin? Go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Make tawbah in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're making me a witness in day of Qiyamah. Maulana, you should understand this. Make tawbah in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is Ghafur Rahim. He's Malik. And that was finished, and he went. Few years later, I asked my father, why you sent him and you were not so happy? I never seen you like that. He says, Beta, never judge anybody. If I was in his position, perhaps I could have done a greater sin.
It's a very interesting story from the point of view that for a moment I thought that he was going to be angry at the sin that he had was committed, but all the time he was angry at something else.
Totally.
And that's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah. So these are proper, our mashayikh, the proper way of deen, because this is Islam for you. Islam is here with total love, and love is the most important. And we say we love and love and love. No, we don't understand love itself. Love is such a beautiful word, and unfortunately in English there are certain words in Arabic and Urdu which have a much greater meaning, much greater depth. Unfortunately I cannot translate it. The only word I could say is in English is love. But the real love, I always make dua that Ummat Nabi sallallahu ta'ala sallam find that proper love, peace within. Inshallah, then he will see, and they will see the world in a totally different perspective.
Hazrat, I know that we now get a better picture of your father and his understanding, and obviously realize the depth of his personality, and therefore looking at his personality we see the Sunni Razvi society emerging from that personality. So we go down now many years, and I think it's many years because I was quite young when I saw him sitting on that bed on that particular day. And the organization is around doing lots of work in all the places that you are. Tell us a bit about the present day operations that are now attributed to your father.
Alhamdulillah. Presently, mashallah, we are working in Mauritius. The Sunni Razvi Society International is working there. Allama Khushtar rahmatullahi ta'ala is buried in Port Louis in Mauritius, in a place called Zikr Manzil. And side of that masjid, there's a masjid there, there's a Zikr Manzil there, and the Eidgah is there as well. It's a very big projects going on there. We have a part of namaz, we have a weekly halqa zikr, monthly Gyarvi Sharif, Urs Ghaus-e Azam, and of course Ala Hazrat. And a part of that, I teach what I'm talking to you right now. I teach that to younger kids. And I do not believe in speeches. My father told me that, Beta, do not give speeches. And I do not give speeches, I talk.
So it's conversations.
In conversation, I talk to kids, any age, from age 8, 13, even younger, right to 40, 50 years old, people come to see me, and I do always interactive. Because if I keep talking, and you just listening, you're not really listening.
Correct.
But if you, in the conversation, that's what you're thinking. And thinking makes you a better Muslim. I believe strongly in faith. And this is what, unfortunately, we have failed. And I will urge people, please think why you're in this dunya. Read Quran, think about it. And think in all aspect of life, all the beauty of life. When you go to seaside, Alhamdulillah, in Durban here, in Cape Town, beautiful sea. When I go to sea, I see the seaside, and I'm thinking the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the beauty, the music is coming out of that sea, at shore. And you start thinking, think scientifically. Think science is Quran. In fact, Quran, alhamdulillah, science come from Quran. Everything come from Quran. all the knowledge you have comes from Quran. May Allah Ta'ala give us that intellect to understand it.
Of course. Hazrat, recently, just to relate an incident to you, I went out to a game reserve just north of Johannesburg, and I spent 4 days. It's my first visit to a game reserve. I've always loved lions, cheetahs. I'm very into the cats, the big cats. And I sat for 4 days in the game reserve, and I went out on night trips and day trips, and I saw strange things. For example, first night I got there, I saw that the lions and the impalas, the lions looked very wary, and the impalas were running away, and everyone was very, like they were busy hiding away from somebody. And the ranger told me that, you know what, the lions want to eat, so everyone knows that. So there's a problem tonight, and that's somebody's going to be caught. Anyway, next day, saw the same pack of lions, very relaxed, and by this time the impalas and the giraffes and everyone else just walked past them. And I remember telling Ben, the ranger, and I said, that's a bit strange, because last night they were very scared of the lion, and today they're just not. So he said, no, they know that the lion is eaten, so they're not worried about him at the moment. So I came to the realization that all of that was controlled, and is controlled by the Almighty. Strangely enough, that all of that is all managed, and today as human beings, we do prenatal, postnatal, we buy 100 products for our babies. Then if you look in the wild, you see the mother cub sitting there, and she's looking after the children, or after the cubs and that sort of thing. There's no hospitals involved, and Allah's looking after all of that, and all of that is being controlled. Yet, we feel that, yes, and they are wild animals, but we think that there's no intellect involved. But the biggest thing that I realized was something that Hazrat mentioned earlier, and that was, I felt in that time that I had a greater understanding and connection with the Almighty in the bush than what I did. And yes, some people might want to take me down for this comment, but going into the mosque was one component. But sitting in the bush, I actually realized much more than what I realized in the mosque. And that was, I could understand how things work without our intervention, without the walls and without the electricity and the plugs and all those kind of things. So I found certain things in the bush that I do not find in our city. So I don't want to say the mosque, I don't want to be disrespectful by saying that. But I realized that if we're looking for some relation with the Almighty, there's a link to the creation, and it might just be in the bush.
Alhamdulillah, you mentioned that. Look, if you see the entire world today, entire universe, there is a system there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ghafurur Rahim, He's controlling everything. And as a Muslim, our language is very limited, the word He we use. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is neither He or She. This is for this dunya. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ghafurur Rahim, definitely is controlling everything. But as a human being, our life, look at our life. Let's say our daily routine. We wake up in the morning. After waking up, if you're alhamdulillah Muslim, good Muslim, you brush your teeth. Brushing teeth is a sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. And you have a wash or shower. After that, after wuzu, you read a Fajr namaz. You read a little bit of surah of Quran. And you come downstairs and you saw your mom and you smile. Wallahi, smiling is one of the greatest sadaqah. It's a gift you could give. So you see your mom, you smile, you say Assalamu alaikum. You see your wife, you give her a hug and you smile. You sit down, you eat, you make shukr, and you go to work, no matter in what field you are, whether you're a doctor, engineer, barrister, bus driver, businessman. Wallahi, innamal a'malu bin niyat. The right intention that I'm going out there for the risk of halal. Wallahi, every step of your life you're taking, you're getting sawab for that. You're benefiting. Well, and this is what we have forgotten. completely. We have to change and refocus ourselves. And do not do these things we are going to seek Jannah. Jannah is already here. Jannah is there as well, definitely. In hereafter, we'll have Jannah, alhamdulillah, we'll have the good faith. And alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Rahim wa Karam, inshallah. He is Ghafur Rahim, we'll have that Jannah. But the Jannah which Allah have given us here, make this life, make your home a piece of Jannah, and make it in a such a way that the total peace, harmony with the nature. A person who go out there to destroy forest as though he have destroyed the entire mankind. If he go out there to kill somebody, he have entirely killed the entire humanity. In the same respect, a person, to me, a greatest sin you could do, the greatest sin you could do to hurt somebody's feeling. Because if you don't read namaz, let's say, namaz is farz on us. And if a Muslim doesn't read namaz and believe that namaz is not important, he become kafir. But let's say that you didn't read namaz properly. Allah might forgive you. Might. Allah is Ghafur Rahim. We are weak. We got a lot of weakness. But let's say you have broken somebody's heart. You backbite about somebody. You have done something that you have hurt feeling, you have destroyed family life. Wallahi, this is the greatest sin you could ever do. And Allah will never forgive you for that. Never, never, never. I'm striving on that. Why? Because heart is a very important thing. And the Sufi way, the Sunni way, the way of our mashayikh is, alhamdulillah, love everybody, give them the equal respect, and take them away from this filth which we have today. And let's talk about filth. Well, yesterday I was talking to our people here, alhamdulillah. See, television, mashallah, you are in media. And I asked them, think of filth on television. He says, Hazrat, all this nudity and this and that. It's bad. That is filth. I says, you know what? I agree with you. Any kind of thing which you see on the beach, ladies not wearing properly, not behaving properly, is bad. Definitely, I agree that. But there's a greater filth than that. To me, this is not filth. It's a bad behavior. The filth is when you start backbiting, causing problem, cause family disturbance, and try to con people, try to do something which harm people, is stealing. To me, that is filth. And that is a bad. And she looked at me and says, Maulana, how could you say that? I said, this is what it is. Deen is all about.
Yes.
They are doing something in public which is a bad behavior, and it's not right. But if you are looking at it, if you are affected by it, that means the filth is already in your brain.
Correct, yes. That's an interesting analogy. Hazrat, these are some of the tenets and the messages that I think people that get involved with the Sunni Razvi society would be benefiting from. I can see this clear line coming through from your father, through you, and coming to me right now, where I'm feeling exactly what you're saying. And I can feel that's what you do as an organization, and that is, there's a mission out there to try and change hearts. And if you change hearts, you would be able to change many things.
MashaAllah.
I've been saying recently that this morning I belong to a political forum, and there were some comments on the political forum, and someone said, oh, we need to form an organization. And when we form the organization, then we'll get Muslims to think properly about how we work together as businesses and that sort of thing. And then I disagreed, and I said, can you first start with teaching them compassion, and then once their hearts are correct, then they'll work together and they'll stop rubbing this one and that one and the other. And the person said, no, but we need an organization for that. So I said, no, you first need to get it inside right, and then start outside. So that started the debate this morning. And that was an interesting one, because now listening to Hazrat and what you are saying, I clearly see that aspect coming through again, and I feel that what I said was correct, because It's about that internalization. And I feel that's what the Sunni Razvi society is doing. And that is getting people to become internally conscious
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
and creating internal dialogue and
Alhamdulillah.
internal colloquium. Because I don't think many times there's someone that we talk to all the time, and that's ourselves. We hear that voice in the back,
MashaAllah.
but we don't actually talk to that voice saying that you are doing the wrong thing.
Alhamdulillah.
We actually listen to the voice, but we do not tell the voice,
Yeah.
you're doing the wrong thing. So I think that's something I pick up with the Sunni Razvi society, is that through internalization that I'm picking up. Apart from that component, which is the internal aspect, are there any actual operational aspects like feeding schemes and things like that that's running?
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Let me pick on that point internally, and then inshallah I will say. See, the khanqahs of our mashayikh, alhamdulillah, we got a lot of salasil in Ahl Sunnat wal Jama'ah. All the salasil are correct. All of them.
All leading to the same path.
Yes, definitely. Sayyidina Shaykh Abdul Qadir and Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala wasallam. All will teach you the same. And all the salasi will teach you and will call you for zikrullah. You have read your namaz, you have done everything, all your good activity. You sit down and you do zikrullah. Zikr we do, it is to do with internal here. Zikr we do to illuminate our heart. Zikr we call Allahu, Allahu, or whatever zikr we are doing, tasbih. Why? To illuminate our heart. To cleanse our heart. And cleaning our heart and saying names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it makes you basically calm you down and rethink again. Heart clean, you start thinking. Rethink again, and alhamdulillah, and become a proper human being. This is what Islam is all about. I will come back to same respect and everything. So once you cleanse your house, which is your heart, how you clean it? I'll come back to it. How do you clean it? You start from the very basic, that alhamdulillah, do not judge anybody. Clear your house from all these ghibat, books, kina, which is the words in Urdu and Arabic, what I'm saying. Basically, peace within, and look at human being as nature and love it, and every minute you have in this dunya, make the most of it. Praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you see a beautiful person there, look as internal or external. Every minute you spend with that person is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you see a flower, it's a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I sometimes strongly believe, let's say grass, if green grass, when you look at the grass, to me grass is praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If a person, we are ashraful makhlukat, best of the creation of all creations, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have made us. And if we don't fulfill what Allah have created us for, wallahi, I would say this grass is far better than us. I hope you understand
Yes,
my
correct,
feeling.
yes.
Now, alhamdulillah, regarding what Sunni Razvi Society is doing, alhamdulillah, since Allama Khushtar have passed away, alhamdulillah, we're carrying out the same way at his teaching. We have a monthly Igarwi Sharif, we have weekly Zikrullah. I give interactive lectures, I call it. I talk to kids. I do not give lectures as such. We sit down together and we start, what was your week like? What did you achieve this week? What we learned, share it. And I take it to a totally different dimension, and 40, 50 people sitting down together. And alhamdulillah, we share that. And next week we will come back and we'll start pick it from there on, and from aspect of Quran and Hadith and a daily routine life. This is what I'm good at, alhamdulillah. I hope, inshallah, and I'm trying to carry on the same way. And in Mauritius we have built khanqahs, and I go to different people's houses, and we do all the religious activities and teach them why you're doing it. not because you need to do it. You need to do it because you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You need to do it because you love your Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala. You do it because it's not only a commandment, because being a Muslim, it is my duty. It is better for me to do it. It will make me a better human being. That's why we need to read. We need people to understand these things. And unfortunately, this is where we are lacking. And alhamdulillah, I'm trying my best. And inshallah, I'll call all the ummah, alhamdulillah, especially here in South Africa, mashallah, to rethink again and go according to teaching of our Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Sahaba Ikram, Ridwanullahi ta'ala ajmain, the kind of love they had. You know, when Holy Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alaihi wasallam used to perform wudu, not a single drop of water was left on the ground. Why? The respect that he had. So we need to recreate that respect. And as I said in the beginning, a person who doesn't respect himself, he will never respect anybody.
Great. Azhar, to remind me about something, and that's, you know, it's the old story. When a beggar comes to you, you can either decide, are you going to give him a couple of dollars or rands or whatever it is, or are you going to teach him to fish? It's the old story.
Yeah.
And I see your organization doing that, and that's teaching people how to live so that they live successful lives.
Of course, of course.
Because it's easy for someone to come to you and say, I've got this problem, how do I solve it? Okay, all you do is you do that and you solve the problem. That's fine, that's giving him a donation.
Yeah.
But to teach him how to deal with life altogether from a holistic point of view and from an overall point of view, I feel that's what the organization is doing. So you're actually teaching the person to fish in the landscape of life.
Definitely.
And that's
definitely.
to survive. So you can fish, you can survive. And I think that's what you're leaving behind with youth especially.
Very, very important, because now, see, this is what Allama Khushtar been teaching us. In 1971, in fact 1970, Hazrat used to be in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda and Zanzibar. And I remember as a child, we used to go to near Mount Kilimanjaro. And alhamdulillah, he used to meet a lot of people from Africa, descent, mashallah, different tribes. And I would say, if I'm not mistaken, easily 500, 600 people early morning used to see. And he used to sit down, make zikr and all that. And he used to talk them. We used to have a Swahili translator or the local language translator there. And this is what he was preaching them. And to be a better human being. If you are a good human being, inshallah, you have 90% of your problem is already solved, because then you learn how to fish, how to live in the society, alhamdulillah, how to cooperate. And this is what we are lacking today. And Muslim Ummah today, we should take that initiative to go forward, because this is what the teaching of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam was. Now Sunni Razvi society, alhamdulillah, throughout South Africa, Mauritius, and in Europe as well, we are promoting the same love, affection throughout the world. And we are building khankas and masajid. We've got a plan here in South Africa, different cities, to build masjid, to build khankas, spiritual centers where people could come and sit down and think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and look at life again in a different perspective, and be respectful, and inshallah, and we try to solve the problem that way for them to be a better human being, inshallah.
I normally traditionally ask this question, and that's some plans for the future, but you seem to have covered that already in terms of that. I think it's an ongoing process for the Sunni Razvi Society to continue building various institutions and organization around the organization. The one last question I want to ask in conclusion is, the world has become a funny place, especially for, I don't want to use the word youth, because I think for man generally, the world has become stranger by the year. So we find technology coming along, it's got its benefits, but it's causing a bit of problems here and there, quite a bit of problems in my view. And then we've got politics going on, and then on the one side you've got diseases going, and you've got all kinds of things. So if you sit for a few moments quietly, you realize that there's just a lot happening for any human being to grasp and keep a sane mind while traversing the paths of this life in today's time. And that's the general course of life. but I feel it's getting all more challenging as time goes on. What's your advice to the person out there? And I'm not going to say youth, because I feel if you look at every age group today, people have become a bit more lost, if I can call it that. What's your advice to somebody today? Very key advice to traverse the roads of this life a bit more easier and a bit more controlled within the context of your organization.
Alhamdulillah, Sunni Razvi Society always been, I think, in forefront in these matters. Alhamdulillah, there's nothing wrong with technology. I strongly believe, because when you invent a wheel, there's a good side to it and the bad side to it. So definitely technology is coming, and there's a good side to it and a bad side to it. If you have a knife, it is very good to cut vegetable with, but you could kill somebody with it as well.
Yes.
See, at the same time. So if the technology is used properly to promote humanity, peace and love, respect, and to promote education, alhamdulillah, it is the best thing you could ever do. But if the same technology is used to destroy the mankind, and it is extremely bad. So this is where we need to make the balance right. And as a Muslim, alhamdulillah, I would say that, and there's, everybody will say fear Allah. And it says no. So if you open the Quran, definitely Allah is Qahar as well. But when you open the Quran, it says Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allah is Rahman and Rahim. He is Rahman and Rahim, merciful. Allah is merciful. And I think we need to be merciful. The day, by the karam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when I say merciful, Allah have given us the certain ability that, always look down on people who are less fortunate than you, and thanks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala where you are. Once you make sabr and shukr, wallahi, this is a day I think you are starting to get out of your problems. And today what is happening, we are not doing that sabr and shukr, and this is why we are going towards what we are doing today. Alhamdulillah, masajid, go to the mosque. Definitely you need to go to masjid. Read your namaz, read your salah. I will definitely tell you that. Listen to the mashayikh. But I would always say that have a good, strong foundation, but a very independent and clear mind. It is very, very important for you. If you have that foundation, which Quran and Sunnah give us, and a clear mind, and alhamdulillah, nothing will go wrong, inshallah. Allah Ta'ala bless you all, mashallah.
Hazrat, thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure having you. I do hope that on your future visits we will be catching up quite a bit, because I must admit, I think it was an extended interview on my side, which I normally don't do, but I really enjoyed the conversation, and therefore I think that there's many more that we can do in the future.
Inshallah, I'm very hopeful, and I make dua that you, your Jamaat, and the entire Muslim Ummah, and not only Muslim Ummah, see, this is another problem here. Every single human being in this world, alhamdulillah, Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is rahmatan lil alameen. It is rahmat, he is a rahmat for entire universe, I would say, entire mankind. No matter what faith you belong to, you are our brothers, we are equal as human beings, and I make dua for all of you, that Allah guide all of us and make us to go on Sirat al-Mustaqim, the right path. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.